Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Erinn Morgan. I am the editorial director of Eye Care Business Magazine with Broadcast Med, our parent company. And I am here today on the second day of Vision Expo East and sitting at the Vision Council booth with this incredibly cool and inspiring person who I've just been chatting with for quite some time. We had a great conversation. Jason Romero, you are here to give the keynote talk today shortly. I think it's in not too long. They're probably going to kick us out of here pretty quick. They're going to come get you to go over there at the show, the bridge, the main show stage. You're going to be given the keynote address for the show. You are legally blind, correct? Yep. And you are an ultra runner, a long distance runner, and you tell us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your running background?
Sure. And one thing you mentioned, I'm legally blind because that's kind of confusing to people because I always look like I can see. I have what's called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a degenerative retinal condition. I'm 53 now. I shouldn't have told my age. And I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed at 14. And what's characteristic of RP, the acronym for retinitis pigmentosa, is a decreased peripheral field. So now I have like about a 10-degree tunnel, which I do like about in the middle. So I see through the middle. And then my acuity is 2,800 roughly. So I really couldn't see a letter on an eye chart, but I operate through my eyes, perceive contrast and color, and I can see movement during the daytime. Nighttime is pretty rough. Yeah. So in any event, that's my eyesight story. And I'm here. I do a lot of adventuring. Like that wasn't always my life, but I used to do these Ironman triathlons, and I really got into running because an Ironman triathlon, it could go up to 17 hours, but that's just not long enough for me these days. I love these 100-mile runs, and you have up to 30 hours to do those. Sometimes you can do longer distances, and I've just found, I guess, if there's such a thing as a happy space or a happy place in movement, in endurance sports. And the other thing too, with my degenerative eyesight condition, I've always loved solving problems. And with a degenerative eye condition, it's a constant creative battle or struggle to be able to implement different innovations, to be able to adapt to be able to do these races and activities while I have this type of eye condition.
That's pretty amazing, and something we were just talking about earlier, because I was so fascinated to learn how you do the running. I mean, especially if you're running 100 miles, and we talked a little bit about kind of, some of the aids that you use to make that happen for yourself. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that?
Sure. So some of the races I like, the better known ones are like the Leadville 100. It's a 100-mile trail race in Colorado. Badwater, which is a desert race. It's 135 miles in Death Valley, California in July.
No way.
It's a little hot. There's this other race, Spartathlon. You run 153 miles from Athens to Sparta in Greece.
Wow, that sounds fun.
But all of these races require different types of adaptations. Like for a trail race in Leadville, I will usually I don't have a guide for the entire race because it's pretty hard for a person to call out, rock left, route right, something every time. So a lot of times during the daytime when my eyesight, I can see contrast, I'll pick a runner with lighter colored shoes or, bright colored shoes, because shoe manufacturers like a lot of weird colors these days, which is real good for my eyes. And I just note that contrast against the trail, and I can note when there's like a large step up, large step down. I also run with trekking poles because it's an extra point of balance a lot of times, keep from going down. At nighttime, I do have guides who do call out the trail to me, and I put little reflectors. I have a super bright headlight. Lupine Lighting has become a sponsor of mine, and they have like a 5.
One of their lights. Those are
Lupine.
They're like the bomb.
Yeah, they're bike. Yeah,
they're biking.
Yeah, I got the Betty and then the Blika and the Pico. So all of them are absolutely phenomenal lights. But I'm able to get through and continue doing this type of thing with different types of adaptations depending on what the race requires. I try to be independent and self-sufficient. So as much as I can, I try to stay away from having to require another human being to be there. And I use aids as much as I can. But with a deteriorating eyesight condition, sometimes I do need to pull in an extra person, ask for help. And what I've realized is, and that's been a really hard thing too, that's, part of this keynote and part of life is basically we get to a point in life sometimes where we're dealing with an adversity and we do need to ask for help. And probably what's harder than even asking for help, we need to accept help. And that's been something, frankly, as an adult, I've tried to teach that to my kids. I haven't understood the full gravity of what that is. But when we're in the midst of it, and there's a lot of good people that want to help, and we don't go through difficult times alone. We go through difficult times together, and that's kind of what this thing has taught me, and I share that in my talk.
That's amazing. So the talk kind of covers, I think you mentioned about kind of resilience and kind of
adversity.
Like a grit. Yeah.
Yeah. So the talk, the way that I'm best known is for being like the only blind person who's ran across the United States.
That's
and
a pretty cool story.
Yeah, my crossing ends up still ranking as one of the top 10 fastest crossings. And roughly 300 people have crossed the U.S. on foot, and records go back to the 1800s. And I crossed at 50 miles a day, and that was 6 years ago now. And I finished at New York City Hall.
60 days?
59 and a half days, 51 and a half miles a day.
Did you take any days off?
No days off.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was, as I back at it, my mom, 70-year-old mom, followed me in my sag wagon. And a lot of times my mom and I have the conversation. We look at each other and just say, I'm not sure I would believe that it's even possible, except for the fact that we did it. Yeah, that it happened. Yeah, we're just like, now I go out, run 50 miles. I'm like, yeah, I'm not running the next day. No way. It was 300 in my longest training week leading up to the run. And I trained for 18 months before it. My longest training week was 300 miles, and I was wrecked. Wrecked. I couldn't run for like a week and a half after that. And I was like, I'm going to force myself to run 350 miles a week, consecutive back to back.
No
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how it's going to happen. And
you
it happened. It
you got it.
By the grace of something larger, it happened.
Yeah, no doubt. And you got into a zone, and you had kind of a purpose too.
It was something. Yeah, it was, and what spawned that was, and this is an important piece of what I'm trying to do now in my messaging in my talk, is when all of that began, my eyesight had deteriorated for 30 years before that. From diagnosis up until this point, I really had been in denial. I had what I'd call functional blindness because I didn't need to tell other people about it.
Right, you could still see enough.
I could, other people couldn't really tell. Even right now, like I look right at you. I can't tell what you look like, but I know how to fake. Like people with RP, a lot of times we fake it so well. People are like, you can see. Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of that's a plus and a minus to it. But my eyesight had gotten to a point where it deteriorated, and I couldn't drive anymore. I ended up losing my last job. I ended up divorced, and I ended up in a severe depression, a severe depressive episode. I was non-responsive, and I did seek professional help, which I'd highly encourage everybody. If you're dealing with a mental health issue, get professional help. I was raised, it's very important. I was raised in a family where that was not necessarily encouraged.
Right.
You were thought to think that you were weak if you needed that help. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not weak. You're actually strong if you do seek it out, because it's important. I'm alive today because of that. And but when I was at this lowest point was when I felt like I had this calling to run across the United States. And what it taught me was we can be in our lowest point in life, and we're capable of the extraordinary.
Right.
And that's just so encouraging to me as I meet with every single person. I see that in every single person, but sometimes we don't see that within ourselves.
So true.
Yeah. So that's a big piece of this, is just encouraging people that, it's okay. You're going to get through it. You have the tools to get through whatever you're getting through. We don't go through it alone, and we're all capable of such great things.
A beautiful message. And I'm looking really forward to hearing your keynote here at the show. It's such a joy to meet you. I just want to ask kind of a doctor optometry technical question, because I know you and I talked a little bit about, and I think there's not as much awareness of different low vision aids that are out there for people, you know, that they really can benefit from. And you've lived it, right? Like you've been through probably lots of doctors and lots of, you know, trying different things. So what are you know, any advice there or kind of recommendations for what works for you? Yeah, how to
Yeah.
go through that process.
So there's so much technology now. It is absolutely wonderful. But when I started this journey, the technology for me was basically lamps and then regular magnifying glasses.
Right, which is old school.
Yep, old school. And that's how I ended up getting, frankly, through high school, through college, through law school,
Yep.
because I couldn't see anything in the classroom. I could never see the chalkboard. I didn't tell professors about it. I would always come back to my desk and I would sit there with all of these lights, because with more light, my eyes could perceive more. They wouldn't fatigue or strain as quickly. And I would sit there with all these magnifiers and I would teach myself school out of the book, and it just had to work longer.
Amazing.
Now I use a CCTV, so a closed circuit television with a little magnifier, blows everything up, has different colors, contrast. Yeah, it's super cool. And there's all kinds of different aids, you know, and it can go from everywhere. Like the telephone can kind of do basically everything. It can navigate for you. There's voiceover on your phone. It can, you know, I mean, order anything. You can talk to a thing like the Alexa type of technology.
That's true, all the talk technology.
Yep. And there's just so many different things. And what I found is there's almost too much technology. So what I've done is I've kind of pieced together what I need for my, you know, piece of life. And I actually came across a really cool piece of technology, this app. It's called AI, like artificial intelligence, but it's actually an app, and it's on your phone, and I could be here and I just snap a picture and it describes what it is. And it would say like showroom floor, and you could snap it at a person who would say, you know, 20-year-old person with a neutral facial expression. And it's pretty accurate. Yeah. And so those types of things exist, and you know, I play with some of those, but it's been great. And you know, from a running perspective, again, it's just different. I use like a lot of headlamps, trekking poles. Sometimes I'll do different tethers, whatever the situation calls for.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any big runs coming up?
I have some marathons coming up. So I'm gonna run the Baltimore Marathon, run the New York City Marathon this year. I may do a double crossing of the Grand Canyon with a buddy.
Oh, wow,
I've done.
That would be amazing.
That's like the greatest running day of my life. It's roughly a 50-mile round trip. You start. It's called rim to rim.
Yeah.
Go to the North Rim, then come back, and you do it basically in the shoulder season. So the North Rim isn't open; it's snowed in. Usually, it's closed. So you got to come back.
Yeah.
You're not getting picked up. So there's only one way out.
Right.
Yeah, you got to.
So you're forced to come back.
Yeah, make the trip back.
Is it
but
one day?
it's one day. Yeah, one day. Usually, it's like, you know, depending on your speed, 12 to 15 hours, and it's incredible.
What a beautiful day.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah,
So
really cool
I just keep running. You know?
experience.
Yeah. Tomorrow I'll
Good
be at
for
Central
you.
Park. Yeah.
Right.
So if anybody's there and you see a guy with a cane, come and say hi.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for taking so much time to talk with us. It's so inspiring to meet you, and really appreciate all of this, and really looking forward to hearing your talk soon. So if you folks are here at the show, head on over to the bridge at the show stage. They're about to start soon the keynote talk with Jason Romero. And thanks again.
Thanks, Erinn.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
See you in Colorado.
All right.
You got to come down to Durango now
Durango. I got a friend who went to school down there.
at Fort Lewis.
Yeah.